Hello, and welcome to Bandy, a podcast about being flexible in all the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your distant, curious hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other distant and curious host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack? I
Distant.
was tickled by my own intro.
Yeah,
Did you notice that?
I did.
Oh, yo, Andy, you're so
You
funny.
typically are, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you flub it, which has
Yeah.
happened two times.
Wait, what?
Let us
Me
not
flop?
forget.
I don't
Yes.
think so.
Uh-huh.
Check the tapes, people at home. I think you'll find that I am the one take master.
Whether or not it should be one take.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I made a split second decision and flew to San Francisco.
Love it.
I had a friend, I have a friend who like had a fashion designing business and they had an inventory of like acrylic backpack. Like this is like high fashion,
Yeah.
it's hard to explain. It's like a limited run of art that you can also like use or wear. So there's shoes, backpacks, and perfumes. And they're just like, I'm ready to move on to something else. Let's just have like a flash sale slash funeral art. Um, it's not an exhibit, it's like everyone participated. So we all had
Hmm.
like a rose and like my friend like crawled into this coffin and then we all like processed with a rose and laid the rose into the coffin and then
Amazing.
people gave eulogies and then Alana got up and got on a treadmill out of the coffin and then did this like performance and then this other lady did this performance. So it was quite something.
Yeah, that sounds nuts. That
I'm
sounds
not an
fun.
it was super cool. It was super cool. And it was just like I was having these uh moments where I'm just like, what is even happening in my life? Like, how did I get here kind of thing. But I flew into San Francisco
Hmm.
and like they there's something going on with the weather, I swear.
Okay.
Because my friend texted me and was like, you're gonna miss the tornado. And I was like, well, I sure do hope so, because San Francisco's mountainous
Yeah.
and but they totally had a tornado that had like a huge windstorm. We're like driving around the streets. I saw a giant tree like in someone's windshield of their car. I was like, should we leave them a note so they know?
What's wild?
Yeah, I
That
know.
tornadoes like it's not tornado country, right? At all.
No, 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 no,
That's
no, especially
nuts.
not in like the winter time.
Like,
So
is the happening finally happening? You know, that beloved
I love the
uh
happening.
I don't think I've
Mike
ever
hates
seen it.
it. I own
It's
it on DVD. It's so
Beth.
good.
Beth, leave the podcast immediately. I haven't seen that
It's
film, but by
it's Marky
reputation.
Mark, man. Shut the fuck up.
No, that's not any better. That's not helping your case. Anyway,
Shut up, Andy. What's the crack with you?
um, okay. So since we last
Okay.
spoke, okay, I've got a list. Um, start with the least important, which is that
Okay.
because I'm a masochist and because I have a cinema pass, I went to see Craven the Hunter last night.
I've not even heard of that.
Good. That's probably the best. That is
Is
the
it
best.
Craven?
No, it's Kraven. So Sony have done, Sony own basically the Spider-Man rights, and they've kind of
Okay.
lent Spider-Man to the greater Marvel conglomeration, under Disney for the MCU. But they have the rights to all these Spider-Man villains and blah blah blah. So that's why you have like the Venom movies that are like
I like the Venom movies.
I like the first one. I haven't seen the
Yeah.
third. Second, yeah.
Yeah. Let
They
there be
also did
carnage.
Morbius, if you remember that. Fucking
I tried and then I was like, I just don't Jared
oh,
Leto rubs me.
I hear you. They also did Madam Web at the start of the year, and they
Yeah.
finished with Kraven the Hunter. So Kraven the Hunter is a Spider-Man villain, and they've turned him into a good guy. It's just
Oh,
a,
how
di-
nice.
a disaster. Now, the highlights were the acting was good, and is Aaron Taylor Johnson? Aaron Johnson Taylor? I can't
Yes.
remember. So anyway, he pops his shirt a couple of times, cut like fucking diamond cut. So that's good for a couple of
Yeah.
scenes. But apart from that,
Right.
do not go and see this movie. It was a disaster. Anyway, okay. That's the worst thing. Right.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
the I've had my choir shows over the past few weeks. Really great to get them done. It was lovely to hear the choir. It's always kind of Um, I always stress about these things. It's like there's a couple of different people as I was in the middle of trying to get stuff done, explaining to me how you just create stress for yourself, and I'm kind of going, "Oh, really? No shit." And also, you're telling me
Now
this
is
now,
not the
and
time.
I'm just like
Right.
through gritted teeth, nodding and trying to smile. Anyway, they went great, and I'm happy that we had a wonderful reception, wonderful feedback. We also did a second show in a church. Um, that is like nearly 1,000 years old or something insane. And that was really fantastic. So it's just be nice. It was nice playing in other venues, and it was nice. There was also like a string quartet played, not a string quartet, string ensemble, sorry, because there was like eight of them. And there was a flautist and
Octet? Octet?
octet. Yeah, I think that sounds right. A
I know
flautist.
things.
Yeah, yeah, well, you're proving it. Uh, there's a flautist and a piano player did some songs as well, like as this duet, and it was lovely. It was just a lovely kind of Christmassy night. Okay, so that's the metal one. Number one with a bullet. Favorite thing I've done over the past wee while is I went to a Street Fighter 2 competition. Now,
No
yeah,
way. That is
that
awesome.
yeah, that was great fun. So as part of it, they showed the Street Fighter movie, which I hadn't seen, and in fairness, I only watched bits and pieces of it while we were there. Because like the organizers have a ton of different arcade games, they bring them along, and you can play arcade games all night. You play a flat rate, have a few beers, play some arcade games, really great. Then they had a Street Fighter 2 competition. Now, I'm decent at Street Fighter 2. I'm not incredible, but I'm okay at it. Got knocked out in the first round pretty
Okay.
brutally. Fortunately, the guy that knocked me out went on to take first place, so I didn't feel so
Good.
bad, right?
Good.
Um, but there was four of us there. Two of my other friends became second and third in the rankings there as well. So, right? Pretty good. So it was a good night. It was
You,
really, really fun.
that's amazing.
It is. Like good prices too, actually. So yeah, they did great.
Yeah, I remember like I think Tekken 2 is probably my favorite fighting game.
Mm,
And like I like in college,
me too.
that was like my jam.
The Tekken series are my favorites, and I was like
Mhm.
I was actually uh cajoling the kind of organizer to try to do a Tekken one in the future because that's the one I'd probably do best in.
Yeah.
Um, but
If
it
you're
was great
gonna,
fun.
put something together, make sure it's the one that you're best at.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that was a really fun night. So yeah, so it's supposed to be busy because it's like Christmas season and a lot
Mhm.
going on. I have my karaoke Christmas party coming up soon as well. So I'm just been like I've been writing down just a list of stuff that I need to do for that. And
You
yeah.
go somewhere, or
No,
do
I'm
you
doing it at
actually?
home. My host.
Okay. You have your own karaoke machine?
Yes, I do.
Can
I
you send
have
me, can you send me what you have? Because I think it's
yes.
time for me to get one.
Like so I have the one I have is pretty crappy to be honest with you, and I have been really thinking about upgrading. But I have like essentially three different ways of doing karaoke. I have PlayStation, like Guitar Hero style. I have
Yeah.
the Bluetooth mic that I have that's pretty great. And also I just have this kind of karaoke machine, which is dead on, but I think I need wireless mics. I need a bit more power. So yeah, I'm gonna look into this in the future, but I very much excited. And actually it was stressing me out a little bit, classic me, but I've made a list of things that I need to do for it, and it doesn't seem quite as bad now that I've kind of written it out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Awesome.
busy.
Busy, busy
You know
holiday
me.
season.
I
Yes.
know. So
It
yeah,
was funny. Mike was, because holidays, he went to Costco, which I don't know what the equivalent is in the
we
UK.
don't we there are some Costco's I think in mainland UK, but we don't have any in Northern Ireland. So
Okay.
and I think
It's like
most people wouldn't be
big
aware.
and lots, big and
Yes.
lots. Okay. And so Mike went there to get like stuff. His parents are coming tomorrow for a week.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so they had cleared out the like fruits and vegetable section, and it was
Okay.
just full of booze and cheese.
Wow.
So no one's getting vegetables this time of year. It was just like give the people what they want, cheese and alcohol.
Uh-huh. So just you all have like scurvy or gout.
Basically, I can't wait. I
Yeah.
had a friend in college that actually got scurvy.
Wow.
Yeah.
brutal. I suppose it's that
Uh,
like college diet, probably just living on ramen and stuff,
when
I'm
are you
assuming.
ever like, oh, I feel like I need to eat an orange today when you're like,
It's true.
trying to figure out how to balance a checkbook and skip class.
I'm like proud of myself. I mean, like I've been doing this for quite a few years now, but I always eat a piece of fruit with my lunch. And like that was getting to that stage just was quite an achievement for me. But yeah, because fruit sucks. Vegetables suck. Sorry, everybody listening at home. You know it's true.
Cheese and booze.
Cheese and booze. It's the way to go. Um, do you have anything else? Do you have any, or shall we move on to what's occurring?
I let's see. I don't think I have anything else. I don't have any occurring. Do you have any occurring?
I don't actually this week. No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. Well, we can just jump into our topic.
All right, let's
Speaking
do
of
it.
Street Fighter
And also ramen.
and
Didn't check.
ramen.
We're we're
I actually
moving on
don't
to our
know if Top
topic.
Ramen came from Japan, but
I think
yeah.
ramen's origin.
Look in
Wait,
your
wait,
wine
hold on.
garden. Okay.
That's before you or we start hashing this out. So we thought we talked about Japan because it's something that we have talked about quite a bit before.
Mhm.
I visited, Beth hasn't, correct?
I have, but it's been like
Very
20
briefly.
years.
20 years, that was
Yeah.
it. Okay, cool.
I was there for like a week or two, but it was very memorable.
Mm,
And we kind of had a family sit down a couple of weeks ago trying to figure out like, all right, like if we don't go to Maria, like our normal destination family vacation, like, the kids are old enough now that they can really start exploring the world a little bit more.
yep.
And so we sat down and we were like, where would you guys like to go? And Charlie was like, China. And we were like, well, and then we all landed on Japan. So I think we're probably going to go either in the spring or this early summer.
Awesome.
So this is topical and
It
timely for
is. And we'll have to,
me.
so we can do a Japan redux in like
Yeah.
6 months, 7 months,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. 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 And
Uh,
how long, like, when were you there? And you lived there, didn't you?
no, I didn't live in Japan. I lived in Korea. I have only spent a week there.
Okay.
Sadly, it's on my list to do a proper trip. At some point, I really kind of want to get up north to Hokkaido and stuff.
Hmm.
Anyway, right, hold on. Let me introduce the episode. So, episode's going to
Sorry.
be called Japan Rocks because
Woo.
I think that, we have talked about this a lot. I think, certainly in terms of like Asian countries, it has an outsized influence for better and worse. And, if you look at things historically, but I think as a result, there is this particular kind of like obsession with it in the West. And, I think it's definitely worthy of discussion. I think it's, you know, thinking about that, I was thinking about that today, and I was like, I also think about my friend in Japan and their kind of obsession with like English culture in that way, and like
Mhm.
there'll be like lots of English flags and shirts and like British flags and shirts, and like when I was there, like seeing Beatles cafes and stuff like that. It's so interesting. There's that sort of cross-pollination. Anyway, so that's our
Like
topic.
entire cafes dedicated to the Beatles.
Yes.
Wow, that's epic. I
Yeah.
want to go.
That guy, that's a clear memory I have because it was when we were in Hiroshima, and we just had a really nice night, just kind of walking around. It's a very cool city, and just hanging out in that place. We had a few drinks. The guy was chatting to us. It was really nice. Like, man, the way certain things stick in your brains. I don't know what this says about me, but I remember him talking to us about all manner of things, but he had a conversation how he didn't like Japanese women because they were all flat chested. He liked European women because they tended to have boobs, or like actual boobs. You're like, oh, okay. And I feel like I remember that just coming out of nowhere. It's like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, man, okay, that's awesome. Um, but yeah, I don't know what that says about the fact that that's also the only part of that conversation that stayed in
That
my
you
memory.
remember?
Oh, anyway,
Oh,
so yeah,
Andy. Oh, Andy.
I know.
Um, so did you I have I have like questions, but I also have fun facts, and I may just like bounce around a little bit between
Yep.
those things. Um, I guess like what do you what are the things that like that really stick out for you? It's I know for me it's a place I could probably visit over and over and over again
Yeah.
and never get bored.
Yeah.
So from your time there, like what experiences did you have that made you love it?
Like, okay, so I would say, I mean, I mean, I've talked about this in travel episodes before. Like, I love the cuisine so
Yeah,
much. I love
yeah.
how distinct it is. And like, I have since spent time in other Asian countries, and I've also, I've come to learn that it's really distinct in so many different Asian countries. I think it's just that Japanese has become pretty ubiquitous around the world. Like so many countries have Japanese cuisine is just spread in a way that like even like Korean cuisine, which is definitely starting to a lot more, hadn't until about like 20 years or so ago. So
Mhm.
that I love. I like what I really like was how I think it's maybe slightly surface level, but how polite people are, right? And
Yeah.
people like it seemed like you were treated with a little bit more respect as a baseline, which I really liked. Um, I found the like certainly British people are extreme for this, but like this sort of, personal space bubble that we have in the UK is just evaporates in Japan.
Doesn't exist.
I still remember being crammed into a subway carriage with like a guy standing on the platform holding like this long ruler thing and he unfolded it and he just used it to jam us all in. I was like, what is happening? This is wild. Um, so like those three things, for sure. Like I think and I've talked about this before. One of my favorite experiences. We spent a day in Osaka, and it was like underwhelming. I would say. I think just I can't remember what day of the week we were there, but a lot of things were closed. So we were kind of like just pottering around, and we were going to head back to the accommodation that we'd found, and this taxi stopped, and three kind of was it four Japanese businessmen stumbled out, one older guy, some younger guys, and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing, guys? What are you doing?" And we were just like, "Ah, fuck, we don't want to be hassled by some dude now. We can't be annoyed." But he's like, "Come here, come here, come here, come here." He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, we're just kind of heading back." He's like, "No, no, 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 you come with us, you come with us." So they took us out, and they took us like for food. They took us drinking. They took us to a karaoke place. His subordinates paid for everything.
Whoa.
Um, then, and my lasting memory of this is another damning indictment of me is that there's this kind of famous bridge in Osaka that has all these like LCD signs, like famous sort of like, so it's like these really kind of bright and kind of gaudy. And it's like a pedestrian bridge. And we were walking across that bridge, heading to get, I think, our like second meal of the night. And he puts his arm around me, his arm around me, and he goes, "My friend, here, women are very easy to catch." And I was like, amazing. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Good
You
to
had a
know.
fair you had a fairy god person,
Yes.
like just like let's go
Yeah, I'll get you a
to the
woman.
ball and get you women and pay for everything.
Like I think after that learned that there's a lot of prostitutes there, so maybe that's what he meant, but I don't know. So yeah, but that was those are the things that really stick in my mind. I also remember being in Kyoto and like I find the history in Kyoto just staggering. Like
Mhm.
temples, like literally everywhere, every corner nearly. It's mad. I think that's pretty incredible. And like Tokyo's just such a insane metropolis as well. Like even the experience of being at like of actually crossing is it Shibuya,
Shibuya.
which is the most busiest pedestrian crossing in the world.
It is the busiest pedestrian crossing in the world.
Yeah, it's insane. Like it's just the amount of people that are there. I've got to say that is one of the things that stresses me out if I think about going back, just because that I find a wee bit overwhelming, and I think I
Mhm.
probably have find those things even more overwhelming as time goes on. But like I still thought the sheer number and density of people was just insane. So yeah. Those are the things that jump out. What about yourself?
Yeah. I only went, I was in like maybe, I was in a little town, maybe an hour and a half north, and I have a friend that was teaching English. So I actually got to go to a school, and
Okay.
it was like the day of their student body elections. And so
Uh-huh.
people, like students were getting up and they were giving speeches and like wearing banners, and it was a whole like uh cultural thing that I'd never seen before. And then we got to eat in this like special room for like honored guests, and just like literally like sitting on the floor, take your shoes off kind of thing. And it was just so
Yeah.
different than and at the time, like, I was working at a college and just kind of being in a different educational environment. That was so far away from anything I'd ever known was really cool. And then we went to Yokohama, which is kind
Uh-huh.
of like it's a touristy area, but there's like, giant Ferris wheel and arcades and like
Yeah.
fun bars and stuff. And then down in Tokyo too. Um, but I love that the the sort of juxtaposition of like extreme, you know, fast technology and new buildings next to like a temple that's,
Yep.
thousands of years old, and like they keep those things. And like um going to the Harajuku area, and like there's like a bridge that then goes to this like temple, and again just like here's that amazing, like some of the coolest fashion you've ever seen, and then you walk 5 minutes and you're in this like amazing peaceful environment where everyone's like meditating and you're lighting giant incense sticks. You just go
Yeah.
from one thing to the next and they're so different. I love that. I'm on
Yeah.
the west coast of the United States, so it's hard to like go from one thing to the next within 5 minutes at
Cer
all.
Certainly not within that the time frames you're talking about there in terms of like the history and stuff like that. It's kind of
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, but it's all like mashed in there together, so you
Yeah.
get to experience everything, and I like that a lot. I love their transportation system. It's like the
Yeah.
best I've ever been on, and like the train goes so fast. I had a similar experience where, one of the I mean, I don't know, they're not conductors. They're just like people, their job is to shove people onto the train.
Yeah.
They didn't have a ruler, but he had like white gloves on, and he was literally like, it was rush hour. So
Yeah.
he was shoving us all together on the train. And again, same thing. I was just like, what is happening? This is amazing. It's so different. Um, and I think I like really just love feeling so out of place in a place so different from anything I was used to. Like I just love like the crazy newness of it.
Like I love the experience of like not understanding. There's part of me would like to be able to understand the language, but I also kind of like how that kind of like it's like you're floating along a little bubble. Like you don't have to interact.
Yeah.
Like there's
It's
times when
like
I
total anonymity.
yes, exactly. And there's times, yeah, or and also the complete opposite because you're this big like gaijin that's like tends to be towering over everybody else. But like
Right.
because there's times in this country where like I understand, I hear people's conversations and I understand it, and I'm like, I wish I didn't understand what you were having a
Hmm.
conversation about right now because it really bums me
Hmm.
out. So that's what I really loved, in terms of like not just Japan, but the other Asian countries I spent time in was that, it was just kind of like it's much more experiential. You can just kind of like look at the buildings and look at all the cool stuff.
Hmm. Something sad
Hmm.
is that so I was probably in my like early 20s when I went, and I'd never been to a place where I felt so safe.
Yes.
Um, and like they have um it's like the crime rate is so low, you have more police than you do like petty criminals. And there's no, weapons or anything allowed. And, you can just kind of like fall asleep and on the train. My friend had he was on the train one like late night, and there was a guy that was like passed out drunk, and his wallet fell out of his pocket and was like sitting next to him, and like no one picked up the wallet. And I was
Yeah.
just like, what?
Yeah.
Does that even, I can't, and just, yeah, that feeling of like nothing bad can really happen, in terms of what I'm used to
Yeah, no,
as a potential threat. So it's sad, but it felt so good.
I very much felt the same. Like, I mean, again, most of my experience it's with Korea and Taiwan, but like, I would have been out late a couple of times, pretty drunk, and like, I'm not even slightly concerned, not even
No.
a tiny amount. Um, but yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that. There really is. Um, I, I like I think, and I want to touch on this a little bit, is that like I think there's like downs, like that culture is very restrictive, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why crime is so low. I think that like one of the reasons they achieve that is that people are really kind of like um funneled down certain like pathways in terms of what lives they should lead and things like that. And I
Yeah.
think it like encourages certain types of behavior, and I think it does have good outcomes for sure, but I think it's also, can be quite tough on Japanese people. I've a very good friend who lives over there, and like once we met in Australia, and she lived in Australia. She also lived in the UK for a few years. Um, I think once she had experienced like more of a Western lifestyle and having more of a life,
Yeah.
she really struggled to then go back to the Japanese kind of like nose to the grindstone, you're always working sort of lifestyle.
Is there a lot of individuality?
It's something I thought about because and it's maybe just sort of artists that I'm exposed to, but I find like a lot of like Japanese artists tend to be really, really extreme. Like, I mean, there's probably some really kind of mainstreamy Japanese stuff out there too. Like, but like a
Hmm.
lot of the musical acts that I like and listen to are wild, like completely like really out there, really kind of pushing the limits of what they can get away with. So I think that is partially to do with the fact that everything is so constrained and like, so it's like whenever you have that extra sort of like vice-like pressure, when you explode out of that, you explode out of it in a bigger way. I don't know
Yeah.
whether that's true or not, but it's just what in terms of what I've experienced with, my sort of understanding of that sort of thing.
Hmm. Um, so where you mentioned Hiroshima, or is it Hiroshima or Hiroshima?
I've heard both.
I have two. That is fraught for us,
Yes.
obviously. What was that like for you going there? And is that something you would recommend that I visit?
Um, Yes, I thought it was a very cool modern, like it's such an interesting thing because obviously it lives outsized in terms of, what it represents, that it was one of the first cities to ever get bombed. It's a small list, like, but by a nuclear bomb. But like, so I went to, there is a museum for that, which I went to,
Okay.
which is pretty well, like, I would say it's a similar experience to going to Auschwitz, which is, I would say, it was a worthwhile experience. I am very glad that I had it, but I don't know that I would say it was good or it was fun, but I'm still glad I did it. And so was the
Hmm.
Hiroshima exhibit or the nuclear bomb exhibit, because
Hmm.
like I think it's good, and especially these days, to be reminded of like that sort of stuff and to know how recent it was and like how devastating it was. So we kind of like don't head down those paths again. I sadly think most of the people that drive us down those paths will never go to like a foreign country and visit
Right.
these things, sadly. But anyway, it is what it is. But I definitely think it's worth experiencing. Like there's also in one of the kind of very sort of famous photographs from Ground Zero, there it was a building that was mostly intact, and it's still there as like a
Wow.
sort of memorial piece, which is very
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah. Also, on a nicer note, if you go there, Hiroshima has their own style of okonomiyaki, that
Oh,
is
okay.
sensational.
that
So
was
yeah.
one of the things, like the best, what were one of the best, like what food did you really enjoy? And I wrote down okonomiyaki.
Like so like
So
Hiroshima.
explain what it is.
Oh God. Oh no. Okay. So it is
It's
essentially
like it's a pancake,
yes,
right?
it
But
is with like lettuce and noodles
yeah,
and yeah. Um
it's like a noodle lettuce pancake
yeah.
with like maybe some like doughy stuff in there too. And you can like you cook it on a hibachi
Yeah.
at the table,
Yeah.
and you can like add things like egg and ham and like,
And like seafood sometimes I think as well.
and
And
then they have these like it's like mayonnaise in a squirt
yeah.
bottle, and you just like
You
pour that
cover
all over the food.
and there's I
It's
think there's
so
like a special okonomiyaki sauce and then they have those like flake things that kind of like all sort of wilt whenever they land and oh it's so good. The so okonomiyaki style is that, but uh okonomiyaki tends to be mixed together, but Hiroshima style tends to be all the elements separately, so they're like all cooked separately and stacked on top of each other. Oh, that's so good.
oh
Yeah.
wow.
Oh,
I'm like salivating.
yeah. So good. So yeah. So
Mm,
that was the thing. But so like yeah, and I think that it's a cool modern city, but like my other thing is that I only had really a day in each of these places. So like
yeah.
I can only give you a very brief review. I remember it's like doing a really lovely homestay. Like this was a pre-Airbnb where like
Wow.
we were using a guidebook and we did this homestay thing and like it was just beautiful. Like we all and they had like robes and stuff set out for us and we have like photos of us just lounging around because it was me and two other guys lounging around our robes because we were so tickled with this. Um but like so like but I was really impressed by the city in terms of my limited experience with it.
Mhm. So if you go back at some point, like what are the things that you haven't done that you want to do?
Oh wow. Like I want to see more of the country. Like I would really like to get up to Hokkaido.
Mhm.
Um I have a friend uh, they up there. I think she's still up there. And who I haven't been in touch for a long time, but it's the sort of person I'm sure I could reach out to and she'd be happy to like put me up. It sounds my arm anyway. And like I just wanted to explore Tokyo, the cities more. I kind of like I had such a whistle stop tour that I really want to just like spend some time there. I also like really want to see now the like Miyazaki Museum, the Godzilla theme park where you
Mhm.
ride a zip line into Godzilla's mouth.
Oh my God.
I want to see like I think it's still there, it might be gone now. There's like a voice activated Gundam on the side of one of the rivers in Tokyo that like lights up and like moves and shit. So yeah,
That's
things
like
like that.
it's like the things that they build that you're able to interact with. So Mike was there, was it this year? I think it
Uh-huh.
was. He
Yeah, I think it
was
was. Yeah,
doing
I'm already talking about it.
research on this little island called Iriomote. And I didn't know this that Japan has like 6,800, it's made of 6,800 islands.
Yes.
I had no idea. So he had to go from like this point to like Taiwan to like Tokyo to take a bullet train to get off. And then I think I can't remember where he was. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But like they have these little birds in Iriomote that don't exist anywhere else. So it's like those are the things that I love. Like uh there also there's a rabbit island
Ooh.
in the Hiroshima area. Have you heard of this?
No, I'm just sorry. I took me a sec. I was just staggered by the numbers you gave me there. At first, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah.
Was
I
I
was like, wait, how
right?
many? I don't know. Like, but that's. I'm just having a look here. There are a lot of islands.
There are a lot of
Anyway,
islands. Okay, so one of them is Rabbit Island. It's called Rabbit Island.
okay,
Uh, they've got over 1,000 rabbits that
okay.
live there, and like you can go and like when you're done with this, you should just Google like videos of Rabbit Island because you can feed them. And so you're just kind of like walking around the island and like 400 rabbits are following you.
Wow.
I know. And I'm like, this sounds amazing. So,
Because I feel like where was it? Oh, and it was in Taiwan. there was a cat town. It was just like a town that had been overtaken by cats. I'll try and get more details than that. It's just a
Okay,
memory right
okay.
now. Um, but yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. That would be incredible. Yes, I would be all over that. Fuck,
I
there's just
know.
like I also kind of like want to hike Mount Fuji and things like that, you know. Right. Anyway,
Hmm.
sorry. Do you have any others before I talk about other sort of ones that you would want to do on top
Um,
of that?
things that I haven't done that I would like to
Yeah.
do. I've never been to an onsen.
Hmm.
I don't really know what they are either.
They
Yeah,
rock.
okay. He's giving me the thumbs up or the okay sign. So
Okay.
you go in and it's like a water experience where you like take off your clothes and you sit in water.
Most of my experiences are with in Korea, and I'm told that they are broadly similar. I've
Okay,
done one, maybe two in Japan, but
okay,
okay, so like it vastly depends. So like in terms of the ones I've experienced, and I'm mostly going to go with my Korea experience. There tends to be a men's section and a women's section. In those sections, you're like taking everything off. You have like saunas, you have hot pools, cold pools, you have like wee shower areas. It's just a way to like bathe and relax and like, clean yourself. But like depending on the scale of these things, there are so many other things. Like there was one that so basically you could get often if we like really didn't care about getting any sleep, we would you can sleep there basically. They have rooms that you can sleep in. And they also have just
wow.
like mats on the floor that you can just lie on the floor. And they have like the one that I would go to a lot. Um, you just throw all your stuff in the locker, just lie on the floor and sleep. And there's dark rooms you can sleep in, or you can just sleep in this kind of main area. There was like a library where you could like take, and it was like, none of it was in English that I could find, certainly anyway, where you could like take out, comics and read books or whatever. There was like snack bars. There was so much stuff, and it was
Sounds
communal. So you had
amazing.
these wee like jammy type things that you put on for walking through them. Um, but yeah, I've also been to like outdoor ones, which were somewhat similar. It's yeah, they're pretty fantastic. They're just a good place to like chill. Do you know what I mean? Whenever it's like, I guess like a steam room, but like plus plus plus.
Plus, plus, plus. Um, so have you seen the movie Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
Yes.
Okay. I just started watching it again
Ooh.
and I was like, oh, right. So I want to go to the fish market at like 4 in the morning and watch all the fish
Hmm.
being like, sliced up and, so there are so Dear Dreams of Sushi, everyone should watch it. I think it won an Oscar and it's this sushi restaurant that's in the train station, but it's a Michelin restaurant. And I think the waiting list is like 3 months or something to get
Yeah.
in. And it's not like, oh, you order, appetizers and drinks. It's like, no, you literally go and eat the sushi as fast as you can and then you leave kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this man has spent his entire life focused on the concept of like discipline and striving for perfection and making the sushi that he makes. And it's like one of the best sushi restaurants in
Yeah.
the world. And I love that concept, and I wonder how much that reflects um, with the culture of Japan.
Uh, yes. I think about him. So like it's I because that's such an interesting insight into like how hard these people work at their crafts if they become passionate about something, but also kind of like how like they the thing I just think I remember is it was his son or something
Mhm.
talked about making egg one of these egg dishes. I can't remember what it was exactly. And there was always something that needed changed. And whenever like his father just looked and nodded and walked away, he was like, "Oh my, this is everything
Yeah,
I've ever wanted."
yeah,
There was no feedback. It was fine as
yeah,
is.
yeah.
And I feel like that is kind of like I think that is it's why it's what drives a lot of Japanese people to this sort of level of greatness. But I also kind of think it might be mentally a tough place
It
to
would
live.
have to be. And
Yeah.
I think, for the right person where it is fulfilling for them to do the same thing every day to the point of absolute perfection,
Yes.
like striving for that, I think would be you have to be a special person to be
Yes.
able
I think
to
so.
do that. But I also love this idea that success can be a tiny sushi restaurant in a train station.
Agreed. I think that is what's so compelling about that. I like, I so there's two things kind of off the back of that, which was apparently like because I talked about Miyazaki before, he is apparently quite a harsh taskmaster, very difficult to work for because he demands like a certain level of perfection. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen like in terms of the thing with Jiro and his son, very much similar with like Miyazaki's son in terms of like how you got no compliments from him basically, he's just constantly trying to push you to like harder, 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 and for good and for bad. Um, and like for a long time, I think because those are the two kind of main examples I was aware of. But then I saw a movie called, I just looked it up, called Come Back Anytime about 3 years
Mm-hmm.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this really beautiful documentary about this Japanese man who's a ramen shop owner, and he's owned it for like 30 or 40 years, and it's just this little thing, and he like has a farm, like we plot land out in the country that he grows vegetables, and like all his and it's about the wee community that he's built, and he like takes his customers up to his farm sometimes and they help him farm his stuff and everything. And he like talks about how his father thought he was a loser when he was a kid and he wasn't going to amount to anything. And he just somehow stumbled into ramen and he like it became like his passion and like over time he's built this up. And it was such, and it was, don't get me wrong, the guy had drive and once he found it, he, because like, the feedback on his ramen was incredible, but like, it was a different view of that sort of way of life in Japan, and it's like, because like as I say, very much my other lens has been that it's all about the craft and that's what it's all about. But this sort of not only did he make this incredible ramen, he also like fostered this really kind of lovely community and like group of
Mm-hmm.
people. So
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. What's it called? Come anytime? Come back
come back
anytime?
anytime.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Um, I would love to do morning exercises in the park.
Yes.
Don't know
Did you
how to get on that list or how to find out about it, but yeah, I love
Tai Chi?
yeah, just this idea that you get up in the morning, you go outside with your neighbors, and everyone's in the park silently doing Tai Chi
Yeah.
together. And I just like walking around and all of this is happening around you was so cool. But I also like you and I are similar in that we like, oh, I want to experience it. It's
Yeah.
new. I want to experience it. Um, and then I'd like to do the Hanami Cherry Blossom Festival at
Oh.
some point. So
Um,
those are the
so
things that are definitely on my list.
that's a good one. I mean, like I
Mhm.
was very lucky in that there's a lot of ton of cherry blossoms in Korea as well. The
Mhm.
place I lived, I think I may have told this story in the pub before, doesn't matter, you're getting it again, was there
Lucky.
lucky. So like behind, I lived in a place called Kangwa,
Mhm.
and the main city of Kangwa, which is where I taught, city, maybe town, perhaps, I'm not too sure. There was a mountain behind it with a temple on top of it. And the road to the temple, which I was at a handful of times, was lined with cherry blossom trees. And in cherry blossom season, I remember there was like a festival around then. I remember like walking up there and back down, and it was like it was snowing with all the blossom there. It was
Yeah,
incredible, absolutely incredible.
I love it. And just the idea that they give people time off to experience it,
Yeah,
and people bring picnics and just sit in the park. The connection to nature and being outside, even though, you know, there isn't a lot of space to do that necessarily in the bigger, more metropolisy areas,
yeah,
but that's still part of the culture is just intriguing and enticing to me. So
yeah,
where
absolutely.
else should I go? What else should I do?
In Japan,
Mhm.
um, hmm, like I mean, I think I was just looking at a kind of map there. I definitely think that. Did you went to Kyoto? Did you?
I've never been.
Okay, to go to Kyoto, then I would
Okay.
really strongly recommend. It's just kind of staggering how much, like just like yeah, the amount of temples and castles, and it was just incredible, absolutely fantastic. Um, like I really kind of want to. I didn't do this, I think, and it feels achievable. I'm more looking into it. What is hike Mount Fuji?
Well, you and I have already hiked a fucking mountain
Hell yeah,
on
we have.
accident, so you can definitely do that. It's a little taller.
It's a little taller.
I
I
wonder if
wonder.
it's like straight up, like
I think
not Whitsun.
it's my understanding that it is relatively achievable. Like it's like a don't fucking take it for granted, but it's manageable.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely like we have a friend who has a mountain cabin up there and they've offered to let us stay. And
ooh,
so I know.
okay, all right. Might
Uh,
be give me a
yeah,
call if and when I do this.
right? You're like, when are you going? I will tell you.
I something else I wanted to talk about was like because I think if we think about the West, England, for better for worse, has had a really outsized influence on Western cultures generally. Um, certainly the English language is bloody everywhere. We're speaking it right now. It's
More and
what
more.
the vast majority of media and stuff like that. It's the main business language, blah, blah, blah. And I think that Japan for Asia very much represented that. And again, for better for worse, I mean, not only culturally, but also the fact that they both invaded and like occupied a ton of Asian countries. There's still a lot of like anti-Japanese sentiment I found whenever I was out in Taiwan, when I was in Korea and things like
Interesting.
that.
Huh.
Um, it's unsurprising. Like, I mean, anywhere you go in the world, there's like animosities from conflicts that happened, many
Yeah.
long
For
ago. Which,
anybody against any. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I understand. Like, I totally get it. Because, like, Korea, for example, was wild because there was there's a ridiculously high number of their monuments. Like 96% of all their monuments were destroyed whenever the Japanese occupied, which is awful, awful,
Yeah.
awful. So, but like, I think as well, about because like, so I think what's so interesting about Japanese culture is how stubbornly it is resistant to change. Like, it has one of the most complex languages and written language that I have ever encountered. I've looked at it before and I'm just like, I don't even know where to start with this. It's crazy to me. Um, I love that like they read their books in an opposite direction to what we're used to.
Hmm.
I find the novelty of that because I still, read comic books, Japanese comic books, and I still find the novelty of that so kind of refreshing.
Yeah. Like even at the library here in the kids section, the kids are really into comic books
Yeah,
and any kind of graphic novel, and they have the Japanese ones, and I'm like, oh no, yeah, it's back to front. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, back to front.
they always have a page, and I wonder like
Mhm.
I have always meant to check whether, and I'm sure they probably do in Japan if they have um Western comic books and things like that, whether they also have somewhat similar because like for things like that particularly the flow is important, so they kind of need to be in the direction that they're going in.
Yeah, yeah.
Though it's kind of interesting that like my friend, I've chatted to her about this before, that like they are not super interested in a lot of that stuff over there. Like, when she was living there, I would ask her about Marvel movies and stuff, and she's like, "No, Japanese people want to see Japanese movies. They don't like they're interested in the novelties of these culture a lot of the time, but they're not super interested in like seeing like so the Marvel movies didn't do super well, so like Xbox consoles, for example, don't do well over there, whereas Sony, Nintendo,
Interesting.
which are
Yeah.
homegrown, are huge.
I'm watching the documentary High Score right now,
Yep.
and it's talking about, yeah, the beginning of video games, and it's fascinating. And
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it all was born in Japan, but I didn't quite understand um the psychology behind it, and like they're writing all this stuff on paper, all this code, and
Yeah.
like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It, it's so interesting. Like, I mean, what, because it was Nintendo were like a playing card company or something like that, I think.
Hmm.
Something like that. And, or, oh, it was, I heard a story recently about it where, because, one of the first sort of gaming consoles as we know them were the like Game and Watch things, devices. And apparently the inspiration for this, maybe this is apocryphal, is that one of the creators saw a guy just in a train with a calculator, just playing with a calculator, like just bored in a train. He's like, I've got time to kill here. I'm just gonna like try to do things with a
Right,
calculator.
boobs with
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
eights
yeah.
and zeros.
And ha, ha, ha,
Uh-huh.
and endless entertainment there. And he was like, maybe there's
Right.
something here, and
Uh-huh.
created a lot of those like
Interesting.
LCD games and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
NDT.
huh?
The ET, was it ET?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
ET.
that got buried because it was, yeah, not a
Yeah, that's
I
outrageous. That story's
well,
outrageous.
and like, yeah, it went into that story a little bit where it was like this guy was like, yeah, my name is blank blank with blank, and I created the worst video game of all time,
Yes.
ET the extraterrestrial. But it like part of it, and no, the Steven Spielberg had a hand in it being really bad.
Yes. Though, like, it's very much we need this game out here,
And it was
and you
like
have,
I think he had like 3 months
yes,
maybe, and it takes him years.
yes.
Yeah.
That's,
So,
you're never going to get anything. And they were like, it's for one of the biggest films of the year. So therefore, we're going to need to make millions of copies of it. It sold
mhm.
disastrously well, disastrously badly, and they ended up having to basically put millions of copies of this game into a landfill and cover it in dirt, which is horrifying, honestly.
It
It's
is. And now, like, if you can find a copy of it, I'm sure it's worth a lot of money.
a good question.
Like
Probably,
something that
yeah,
goes from being so worthless that they just like bury it in a landfill. Okay, so do you want to know some interesting facts?
I do.
Guess what the traditional Christmas Eve meal is?
Oh, I think I know this. Is it Kentucky Fried Chicken?
It's Kentucky Fried Chicken. What is
Uh,
that about?
so like there is a thing.
You guys have Kentucky, you have KFC
Yeah,
like all
we
over the
we
place.
also have a traditional turkey dinner, whereas they don't really in Japan. So I think what happened was, I remember reading something about this. Japanese KFC essentially saw that they could exploit that sort of idea of a Christmas dinner, but like in a fast casual sort of way, or like,
Gotcha.
and had a whole like run of like Christmassy KFC. And because like Christmas, it still is ish a thing in Japan, but nowhere near to the extent it is in the West. So they were like, let's wedge ourselves in there and
Yeah,
make ourselves the food of
it
choice.
worked.
It
It
does.
worked. So, the number four is unlucky because in Japanese it
Oh,
sounds very similar to the way that they say the name or the word death.
okay.
And so kind of like, you know, I don't know. I'm like, do they have a fourth floor in hotels? I have to find out. Because
That is a good
like
question.
here they don't have the 13th floor in hotels.
Yes.
Like even ones that are still being built, like it's taboo. Um,
Interesting.
you have a seal instead of a signature.
Oh, didn't know that.
So you
Oh,
don't sign things with like you've got like three different types of seals, like for depending on the type of document.
I have one of those
You
for
do?
with my name, with my Korean, my Hangul name. Yeah, somewhere. I forgot about that.
Is that like a stamp?
Yeah,
That's so fucking cool.
yeah. I forgot
I
about
would
that.
be stamping that on everything.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I had to
Just like
use it once or twice. I can't remember what for, but yeah, it was pretty
just
neat.
like bringing it into like a restaurant and just like stamp your seal on your
We
receipt for dinner.
we need to bring that into the West.
Uh-huh. I think so. I love stamps. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Um, Anti-ninja floors are
Okay.
like a thing.
Uh-huh.
So like typically when you build a floor, it's got normal like creaking sounds.
Okay.
Or no. Yeah, no, when you build a floor, typically it doesn't have creaking sounds. So I'm getting this backwards. And so they actually will make their floors creaky
Hmm.
to ward off ninjas and protect themselves from
Smart.
ninjas. And I'm just like the fact that you have ninjas in your culture to the point where you're making your floors
That seems insane to me.
anti-ninja.
There can't be that many ninjas. That's wild. Okay.
I This was like top 10 fun facts. So,
I love it.
guess what the national sport is?
Baseball.
Sumo wrestling.
Ooh, okay.
Andy, I know. Have you ever been?
I haven't. I would definitely go, but I don't.
I
I
would
haven't.
too. Yeah, it's totally on my list. Okay, the last one I have is their food is actually designated UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site.
Wait, sorry. Run that by me again.
Their food is a designated UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site.
Okay.
Because like the way that they prepare the food and the intention behind the food,
Okay.
it's a way of expressing your appreciation for nature, and
Okay.
therefore it is recognized as an actual like site.
Fascinating. I had no
Isn't that
idea.
cool?
That's cool. It's wild. How interesting.
Mhm.
I love it. That's a good one. I love it. Um, yeah. So, like, I think those are some good facts. Do you have anything else? I got one last thing.
I just love it.
Yeah,
I just think it's the coolest place. And
I
yeah,
really want to go back.
I would love to spend some time there.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like, it's definitely something. It was always the one that if I was to go back and teach English, I would strongly consider going.
Mm.
But yeah, we'll see, we'll see. Um, so the one last thing I had to say was. This whole episode has just been a Trojan horse to get you to watch Shogun, Beth. Beth, watch Shogun.
Okay. I'm writing
Watch
it
it.
down. Come
That's what
back
I want.
anytime and Shogun.
That's what I want to
I
watch
think
for Christmas.
I Okay, really? I can get that
Yeah,
for
it's
you
for
for
you to watch
Christmas. I
Shogun.
started watching it, but I was
Uh-huh.
like by myself maybe,
Hmm.
and like maybe there was like some other like stupid show that was taking my attention at the time. So I will totally I saw the reviews were amazing. It's
Yeah.
like getting all of the high scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
So
I mean, it's like end of the year, and I don't think there was a single other show this year that I loved as much as it. It was
really?
incredible. I like.
Okay.
It took me a few episodes to really warm up to it, especially the like English speaking character. I wasn't sure. I really kind of got the guy's performance or what he was going for, but as it developed, I really loved him. So it's such a I it's such an interesting sort of look at Japanese culture. I think I've talked about before about the nature of translation as
Mhm.
well. How language is used, but I think it's a really kind of like they talked about how in the original sort of adaptation of this back in the 70s, it was very much centered around the English guy and like all the Japanese conversations were happening but they were not translated so you really didn't have any idea of what was going on in their lives, but with this the actual Japanese characters are much more important. They actually have their own storylines. There is like some incredible like female characters. It's really wonderful, so yeah, good.
All right. Because you're making me feel guilty and asking for it for Christmas, I will do this small favor for you.
And I'll watch The Greatest Showman as well.
No, you have to do it with me in the room.
Oh,
Don't
okay, you're
forget.
right,
I have
all
to
right.
sing at your face while you're
Oh yeah, of
watching it.
course. Hooray. Okay. All right. Good stuff. We've given each other our Christmas gifts-ish.
Yes, I know. I didn't get you anything.
It's fine. You told me that you're telling me, wait, what do I need to watch? Caroline? Who knows? I can't remember. I feel like I had an assignment, but I don't know what it was.
No, you're honestly, you did The Princess Bride this year.
Mhm.
You're reading A Prayer for Own
I
Meanie.
am.
I'm pleased.
Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
pleased.
Okay,
And you
sweet.
came and visited me, so
That's also true. Well, so well,
yeah.
you did that too, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh,
right.
good point.
Hmm. Okay, right. In that case, Beth, what's been bringing you joy this week?
So I got like honestly, I think it was seeing friends that I haven't
Yep.
seen. Like I've no, it's like it's my Burning Man crew, And it wasn't everybody, but it was, like enough of us where it felt like a little bit of a reunion. And I
Nice.
love catching up with friends that I've known for like 20 years. Um, and I'm gonna read it's like someone sent me something really sweet, and I'm gonna read it because everyone needs to know what an awesome person I am, apparently. So my friend Greg, who I love, said, "What I admire most about you, besides your undying love for me and your conversational skills, is your ability to not give a fuck. You
Amazing.
do what you want, you seize new experiences, yet you can also be the most put together person when the shit hits the fan. You and Mike both seem to understand how to pull off maximizing life in responsible ways. You fuckers. And you have kids who came out of you. Awesome and fucking weird. You suck so much. I can't think about how cool you are anymore. Dagger heart." So it's like,
Beautiful.
right? Like people that truly like understand how amazing I am and
Yeah,
appreciate me for my weirdness.
and also give you shit for doing it.
Totally.
Yeah, it's
So it's
perfect.
like I that gives me joy that I can provide that I have those kinds of friendships where
Yeah,
it's I love you, I hate you,
perfect.
but like I hate you really means I love you too.
Yes, there's something, authentic about that in a fairly pretty kind of beautiful way, because like,
Yeah.
it's interesting how much, people struggle with actual earnest
Yeah.
comments. So I
Yeah.
think through that filter, it's the very best way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
So that was lovely. And then yeah, coming home also felt nice. It's like
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Home comfort's always a treat to get back to.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um,
How about you?
music, I guess, just generally bringing me joy always. I have obviously the choir. I've just been listening to like stuff. So there's a guy called Louis Cole who I go through periods of like listening to his stuff, and like, he just
Mhm.
does the most interesting like break beats and weird sort of like
I like breakbeat.
there's a song in particular called Weird Part of the Night that I think is worth a listen. If you
Okay.
like that, maybe listen to more of his stuff. I think he does really interesting stuff. I don't think anybody else really makes music like him that I have heard anyway. And I've heard a band I just literally searched and found the full name, but there was a band I heard on the radio the other day called CG8, and they're like a post-punk feminist sort of band from New York. I just found that CG8 stands for Come Girl 8, and and one of the songs that they had was called UTI, about having a UTI, and it was incredible.
Wow.
It was just this fucking scorching like punk, and also like almost like a gabba or like dancey sort of like high speed track. It was really fantastic.
You've got great taste in music, so I will
Thanks.
totally. Weird Part of the Night. And what was the name of the
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 band was CG8 and their song was UTI. They don't seem to be on any of the music platforms, so I think they're maybe on YouTube and stuff. You should be able to
Okay.
find
I can
stuff
I
somewhere.
can find anything, Andy.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm a
But yeah,
private investigator.
yeah.
Good. Music is awesome.
Music is awesome. It always fucking resets me in ways that I need. So yeah,
Mhm.
love it. Okay. So Beth, can you tell everybody where they can find us, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, you can find us at bendypodcast.com.
Hmm.
Um, and give us a listen, share with your friends,
Always.
send us some topics if you want to hear us talk about whatever. We're always game. And
Yes.
thank you for listening.
Always. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay. In that case, we'd like to remind you, as always, to stay bendy. There's some bass in that one.
Yeah, you've been practicing. I can tell.
All
I just
right, we
sound
love.
tired. I love you
I
guys.
love you. Bye
Bye
bye bye.
bye bye.